everyone, and welcome to the In Conversation series of NASSCOM. Today, we are going to discuss about a very interesting topic on shaping the future of agile engineering in the age of AI. As we know that agile methodology has transformed software development with practices like extreme programming, pair programming, and test-driven development. And unified under the Agile Manifesto's core principles, methodologies like Scrum have become as popular as cloud and web technologies have enabled rapid iterations and frequent deployments. So now, as AI tools and methodologies evolve, agile practices must adapt to fully integrate these advancements. So this new approach emphasizes on three things. Number one, creativity and orchestrations. That is, that engineers must effectively and creatively orchestrate AI tools and design the new processes around these tools and agents in order to go beyond incremental efficiency. Number two is adaptability, that is, embracing the ability to swiftly adapt to emerging AI tools and methodologies as they develop. And number three is AI tooling proficiency, which is gaining a very deep understanding of AI tools to boost productivity and foster innovation in the project delivery. So to navigate this evolving landscape successfully, it is of course very essential to focus on refining the agile practices and align them with AI capabilities, and how we must also integrate the AI enabled tools to streamline workflows and cultivating the right skills and mindsets. So embracing creativity, adaptability, and proficiency will ensure that teams are equipped to drive this continuous improvement and leverage AI's potential in agile engineering. So to discuss this more in detail, we have Rakesh Ravuri, CTO, Senior VP Engineering, Publicis Sapient. Now, Rakesh possesses considerable experience in designing, building, and deploying cutting-edge internet-scale technology solutions for e-commerce and capital markets. In his current capacity, Rakesh is responsible for all aspects of global engineering talent management and engineering transformation and support worldwide as an integral component of the business plan. So, armed with a strong ability to transform organizations to realize strategic business imperatives, he has built customer-facing solutions for American, European, and Asian regions. Thank you, Rakesh. Thanks a lot for joining in.
Thank you, Vandana. Thanks for that introduction. And I'm really excited to talk about what's next for Agile today.
Thanks, Rakesh. So I'll delve right into the questions. So we are going to talk about agile methodologies, and we are talking about how are they, changing in the emerging AI landscape. But how do you actually define it in your organization? How does your organization define agile methodologies, and how do you implement this agile approach? And also, secondly, what agile methodologies are being used most prevalent in your practices as well? So particularly in the context of integrating the AI tools.
Sure. Publicis Sapient, as you know, is a digital business transformation company, right? We work with lots of Fortune 50 and Fortune 500 clients. And Agile is a mature framework, right? It is almost like about 20 plus years, 2 decades of evolving and maturing. So there are various flavors of Agile, but the flavor of Agile, which we have built our methodology and our ways of working, is on a scaled Agile framework called SAFe, right? Which is an industry standard. So we have built something called PS How, which is Publicis Sapient's how you go about building software, right? That is our methodology, which is a flavor on top of SAFe, and this is what this is our prescribed way of working with our partners. But as you know, different partners are there in different stages of maturity, different stages of evolution. So there are generally variations in this framework. But Agile as a whole, if you see, there are so many variations, right, over the last 20 years. But to answer your question, our flavor is basically based on scaled Agile framework. That is what we have been using till now.
Got it. Fair enough. So, of course, you have also seen in your experience that, being the head of engineering as well. So you have seen that engineering has also evolved over the last 2 decades. I wanted to, delve more deeper into how has it evolved, especially with the integration of AI now, and then now what role does Agile play in this overall transformation?
See, overall, if you see the history, software engineering, when you say engineering, I'm assuming you're saying software engineering, obviously. But software engineering has been evolved, is in a continuous evolution phase. Because of all the engineering lines, I keep telling, like, software engineering is the infant in the block, right? If other engineerings like civil, mechanical, they have been there for like centuries, right? And compared to that, software engineering is relatively new. So there's a lot of maturity it needs to sort of acquire, and it has been constantly evolving. And the way we do software engineering has changed. The various methodologies, initially we used waterfall, then we sort of came to extreme programming, then it evolved into agile, and we keep evolving the engineering because the technology also evolves so fast. One of the reasons why software engineering needs to evolve rather than build upon previous methodologies is because the technologies which we are using, right? Initially, we used desktop computers, then internet came in, then mobile came in, then cloud came in, right? So these things inherently, if you have to take advantage of developing for those technologies, you need to have a different process. Otherwise, if you are trying to use the old process to create something new, you always face problems, right? Or you always are stuck in non-efficient ways. Similarly, right now, I feel AI is the next disruptor in the line, right? If you see, why did Agile became really popular? Before Agile, we were developing for a client-server desktop-based systems where software delivering a software means you need to create a CD, or you need to create a floppy disk and then mail it in magazines, or people buy it in shops. That is what deployment was. So the processes there were geared towards, okay, how do I sort of create this golden copy of my CD so that like it lasts for a long time. The moment internet came in, and Google was the internet child, right? Like, so it sort of grew up with internet. They are the first company which introduced this concept called beta software, right? Like Gmail was in beta for almost like 10 years, right? Now, if you really think about it, what did it do? That is the first time they realized that, look, software, you don't have to really lock down everything. You can evolve every day. So if you're evolving every day, you need to sort of deploy every day and get it in front of the customer every day. With the internet, that was possible, right? Like internet made that possible. So you needed to have a new methodology called continuous deployment, right? Continuous deployment became famous. Continuous deployment in terms of client server doesn't make any sense, right? You can deploy continuously. You can't create CDs continuously and give to the customers, right? Like they can't install it software continuously. Internet enabled software to be updated dynamically. So continuous deployment became a thing. And then internet also created distributed software. That means like you have services, you have web services which are like everywhere. Now that required continuous integration, right? Like you needed continuously to integrate with those services because those services might evolve independently of your software. And how do you continuously test for that? And these are all the practices. That's why the word agile means like, okay, you need to be responding to change. You need to respond very quickly to what the customer asks are, or what your software is performing in hands of your partners. Now that basically is the key driver for agile. Now, similarly, what AI is doing is, if you play the same methodology, AI is now making it easy to create software, right? If you software as a task required, okay, careful planning, and people used to work for 6 months or multiple iterations and then develop software. But if you once you develop software, you now support the software for 2 or 3 years before you sort of replace it, because it's a significant investment, right? You need to maintain, you need to do SRE, you need to do basically the sustain operations, etc. Now with AI, if software is easy to generate every time, right? Every time there is a bug or every time there's a new feature, if you regenerate it, the question comes saying that, okay, do we have to relook at our processes of how we do SRE and sustain, and how do we develop software? The developing software, does it need to really lock down all requirements, and I need to do like say 2 months requirement analysis and then a 6 months build? Instead, in 6 weeks, I can build a whole application, right? Right now with with a lot of AI agent-based tooling, we can create software really fast, right? Really fast with a lot of quality and with like 100% test coverage. Now, these are the things will force you to question your old methodologies. So that was the seed of us thinking about saying that, okay, you need a new methodology because the way software is going to develop, the way it is going to be deployed, the way it is going to be fixed is all going to be different. So you need a different methodology, not just tools. If you use the tools in old methodology, it will just make you incrementally efficient. It will not give you an exponential change in terms of how you do software development. So that was the seed of us looking at engineering and saying the engineering needs to evolve because the tooling and the way the software is valued is changed.
Got it. Got it. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that insight, Rakesh. So, you're talking about the evolution of software engineering. You're talking about the integration of agile into the same as well. How essential it is. But, we also need talent to perform all these tasks. We need to have the right talent who are agile in their mindset as well. So, and there is this need to constantly upskill as well. So, with that in mind, what specific types of upskilling is required for the engineers so that they are able to thrive in this AI enabled agile environment? Yeah.
Yeah, and with the evolution obviously requires reskilling, right? And software engineers are not new to it, right?
That's true.
Every 2 years or 3 years, software engineers, there's something new for them to learn, and they are constantly evolving, right? This is the only field in which the like IT, I keep joking saying I stands for information, right? Like an information is keeps on changing, right? Like you can't do technology without information, and for new information you require new skills, and also the ways of working. As we were talking about how the methodology is changing. So if you take let us take an industrial revolution example, right? A person who is working in a small home setup, manufacturing some toys, and then suddenly they go to a toy factory. The skills required are completely different, right? How you manufacture toys, you're still making toys, but the skills required are completely different. You need to now work with machines rather than work with hand tools, right? Similarly, software is entering a phase, like it has always changed, right? Like for example, when I just gave you the example of desktop to internet. When desktop to internet came, people had to reskill to figure out, okay, how to work with internet. And when mobile came, they had to reskill how to work on mobile, what you can say, mobile phones. And then when cloud came, they had to figure out how cloud native engineering works and what are those skills which are required. So every disruption, the people who pick up the new skills are far more efficient and they can create more value. Similarly, when AI is coming, what are the new skills required is the question is not, okay, whether the new skills required is not a question. Everyone knows that we need the skills. What skills are required? So what skills are required in my view is, I think the programming is evolving to the next stage. I remember I started my career writing assembly language. No one writes assembly language anymore because tools produce assembly language, right? Similarly, I remember when I first joined the my first job, I was using C++, and C++ compiles to assembly and it used to run. Like the old timers at that time who were there in the company for 15 years said that, okay, you are relying on compilers, they will never generate the most efficient assembly code, right? Like you need to check the code which is being generated. We were writing for, and they were right at that time. But now if you look at that statement, no human can actually write efficient code than what compilers are producing, the multi-level of optimizations which they do for assembly, right? So that is similar a kind of junction we are there in, right? I predict that in few years we will be looking at the programming languages what we are using in the same way how we used to look at assembly. Yes, there will be still few people writing it, but most of those code will be generated by agents and tools. You will be writing the next level, the higher level thing. What is the higher level thing? People say programmers are not needed. I disagree. Just the programming language changes, right? Instead of writing Java or like React code, you will be writing agent scripts. You will be writing what you can say custom instructions. to help this software agents write code. So, which is again programming, right? You're just writing at a higher level of abstraction, like the way I started writing C++ code instead of assembly. Now you need to, and people started writing Java instead of C++. This is just the next level of evolution. You will be writing agent scripts. You will be writing prompts for AI. You will be writing what are prompt chaining, the agent scripting, the agent orchestration. These are all the new concepts which are developing, which basically will produce a newer kind of abstracted language, which the software developers will be using in order for the agents to create the software. So that is what we are going into. And so you need to learn all those skills. So to learn all the skills, basics of ML is like learning object-oriented programming 20 years back, right? Like when you started 20 years back, people said, "Oh, learn object-oriented programming algorithms. These are your basics." Similarly, now going now, if someone is starting now, I'll say that okay, learn machine learning, machine language 101, right? Learn LLMs 101, right? Like you learn. Understand the concept of agents, agent scripting, the concept of creating agent orchestrations, agent swarms. So these are all the new concepts which people need to learn. And of course, you still cannot get away from fundamentals of computers. That becomes even more important, ironically, right? Like because you may not, you don't need to know how to code a linked list in Java, but you need to know the concepts of linked list, the concepts of solid programming, the concepts of distributed architectures, because you can tell the agents what you want to create. So breadth becomes more important, and then the machine learning and the agent fundamentals become more important. So these are the two skills I think people need to evolve and reskill themselves into.
Fair enough, Rakesh. That's really, very crisp advice that you're giving with respect to the reskilling, upskilling part. Now, while all these skilling, are happening, all this skilling is happening, upskilling and reskilling. So sometimes, the focus becomes only that. So, but what advice, would you want to give the engineers so that they're able to maintain their proficiency with the emerging AI technologies and tools? And but there is no compromising on the innovation and project delivery. So, how do you want to, advise that? How do you want to advise the engineers? Yeah.
So it's very just last Friday, we had a town hall here at Publicis Sapient, and our CEO was saying the two things which everyone needs to do is perform and transform, which is exactly what you're asking, right? So I was just smiling, saying that okay, that's exactly what we were saying. So while transforming, you can't afford not to perform, right? Like he's basically changing engines on the flight, right? Like you need to keep flying still, right? Like but at the same time, you need to transform and pick up the new skills. So the way I see it is, I ask most of my engineers to start looking at, okay, what you're doing, you don't have to abandon and do something new. Let us start by making what you are doing more efficient, right? Like first use the AI to first create you the bandwidth by using them. That is the incremental efficiency which I was talking about. First, use
Yes.
AI to give you incremental efficiency. That will buy you time. Because you have become efficient, it will buy you time. Use the time to transform. Use the time to transform your processes. So basically, what you need to do is you need to be saying that, okay, so you are not letting go what you're doing. You are performing your thing, but you're performing a lot better. Like let us say you took 8 hours to do some task. Try to do it in 6 hours. Try to do it in 4 hours. And the rest of the 4 hours, invest in transforming either your skills or transforming the process. So next time it takes even lesser time, right? Or even lesser, what you can say, or it does it with more quality or more things. Like one of the standard examples I'll give you is everyone knows from last 20 years have been saying you need to have a good test coverage for your code which you have written.
Yeah.
But every developer, if you really ask them and say that, okay, what is the ideal test coverage you are getting? Other than for critical systems, most people will say 80, 90, and like that is the best case scenarios. Most of the people are even lesser, right? Like there'll be 75% or something. And if you ask them, okay, why are you not getting 95 or 100% code coverage? They'll say, look, that is theoretically said, but the way the amount of churn the code happens, or Some things are difficult to reach. It is not easy to sort of get 95 to 100% test coverage. And they had practical reasons for it, right? Like the effort involved is more than what the benefits which they get out of it. So people generally don't do that. But if you really see now with the tools which you have, generating 100% test coverage is easy, right? You just have to select a function, right click and say generate a test case for me, and it generates
Yeah.
100% test case for you, right? Like, so those kinds of stuff, what I'm trying to say, like, so you are doing the existing thing, though the time remains same, but the quality is like a lot better, right? Like the
Yeah.
value which you're creating is a lot better, right? Like, so those are all the places where you perform better, and performing better buys you a time and a space for you to transform. So that is what I'll suggest to do.
Fair enough. That's very concise and very crisp advice also that you've given. And, that should surely help these engineers to, manage all these things better, of course. So Rakesh, lastly, one thing I wanted to talk about was that, all these changes that are going on the software side with the advent of AI, then these upskilling and reskilling of the engineers is happening. But what kind of mindset changes or behavioral changes are you observing, or perhaps even anticipating in these engineers as AI is becoming increasingly dominant? In over the course of the over the past few months and in the future as well. So, what kind of mindset change are you observing? Yeah.
No, that's a great question, Vandana, right? Uh, as we know, we talked about why. Why is because
Yeah.
the AI is causing the disruption. We talked about how, we talked about methodology and tools, what it changes. But you will not be successful unless you have the right behaviors and mindset while doing the how. So at Publicis Sapient, we always said, like, in order to be a good engineer, you need to have what we used to call 10x behaviors, right? These 10x behaviors, these are a set of 6 behaviors which we said, which every engineer needs to possess, which really makes the engineer truly perform to their best, right? So these 10x behavior, what are those 10x behaviors? We said, like, okay, a good engineer is a polyglot, right? A good engineer is multidimensional. A good engineer is believes in reuse. A good engineer mentors others. A good engineer works in a team, right? Like, so these are like the basic characteristics which we said, like, okay, if you sort of solve for these, right, and you have these behaviors when you are trying to do, you'll produce better outcomes. But when we looked at AI, surprisingly, what I noticed, Vandana, is AI really makes these behaviors, even makes them superpowers, right? Like, takes these behaviors and
Yes.
makes them superpowers. So let us take, for example, polyglot. Right,
Hmm.
polyglot is what we said earlier. Is we wanted to have polyglot because we wanted to have full stack engineers. We wanted people not to be restricted by one dimension, so that, like, they can be a true contributors to the team across the stack, because no software right now is done by just one language, right? Like, your front end might be in React, your back end might be in Java,
Yeah.
then you will be using database, some NoSQL database or a RDBMS, etc., right? Like, or and you will be there in the cloud, etc. So many different things are involved. Now, if you're a polyglot, the handovers will be less. You will be more efficient. If you have to sort of fix a bug right from front end to back end to this one, you can go and do that as a single threaded. And if you're a full stack developer, you can do that. Now, earlier, that was the things which we wanted while we are doing product engineering. But now with AI, being a polyglot is a lot easier, right? Like, you can use the tools. Actually, you can, right now, the current generation of tools, you can actually take a Python code and say convert it for me into JavaScript, and it'll do it. So
Hmm.
suddenly you are basically what you can say, a lot more efficient. Being polyglot is a lot more easier. So now you can actually make that skill into a superpower. It's no longer
Yeah.
just a nice to have skill. It becomes a superpower because now you are easily able to sort of do it, right? Like, right now, I see a lot of developers doing that. The people who are using tools like Copilot and the
Hmm.
other coding tools, they are easily able to take an example which they find, or like a piece of code which is legacy piece of code which is there, and convert it into a newer framework or a newer version so
Yeah.
effortlessly, right? So they're all
Hmm.
polyglots. Now, being a polyglot is so easy. Next one is what I said is multidimensional. Multidimensional is like, as an engineer, don't just be an engineer, right? Be a little bit of a product manager, be a little bit of an experienced designer. So at Publicis Sapient, we believe in 5 capabilities which are key to deliver, which we call speed. right? Strategy, product, experience, engineering, and data, right? Like that was our go-to market, and that is how we develop software, saying that all of these things needs to come together in order to create a new value. Now, being multidimensional with AI is a lot easier, right? Because now you don't have to be an expert experienced designer. You can easily take like for example, let us take a example of a css or like a style sheet or like a form layout. You can ask AI to sort of rearrange it for you. You can ask AI to come up with different schemes or make it like align better or something like that, right? It will do that for you. So that will reduce the handoffs. It is not meant to replace the experienced designers, but like what you can do is you can do a step and you can ask them to review it. Like that's a lot faster. Same thing with product managers or something, right? You have a story, you have an acceptance criteria you're developing, you found a bug. You can actually use the bug, go to like even tools like ChatGPT, for example. You can say that, okay, this was the story, this was the bug I found. Can you sort of make sure the acceptance criteria is updated to include this check for this in the acceptance criteria? So the story gets updated. So you're not going back to a product analyst or a product manager to update it. You can update, an engineer can sort of contribute. Now he's being multidimensional, right? He's like doing a little bit of experience design, a little bit of product manager. So what does it allow for the product and experience to do truly what their super skills are? Like that means like do the product vision, do the actual experience, what the customer design and interaction design, which they need to sort of do, not worry about doing login pages and style changes, right? Like, so that's what I keep telling. Those are solved problems. Solved problems, people need to be multidimensional. So that way I feel behaviors. So that behavior of, okay, I can easily do other languages. I can do other capabilities. That behavior is important. Same way, like when we talk about mindsets, creativity is a huge mindset right now. Like that is one thing which sort of, now if you have tools at your hand, it is basically your imagination which sort of controls what kind of code you are able to produce, right? So if I have to create an application, what is, like, now I have the tools, I have the skills, I have the resources. What is only thing which is stopping me is my creativity. So creativity is what will set a good engineer apart from an average one, right? So those are the new mindsets and behaviors which one needs to sort of develop in this new world.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rakesh. Really, really amazing, insightful answers and, insights that you have shared, not only from the software engineering side, but from the AI side perspective and, talent and skilling as well. So thank you so very much for your time. And thank you everyone for joining in. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Rakesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandana. Thanks for giving me this time to share my thoughts.
Thanks a lot. Yes.
Thank you.